Good evening, everyone. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome all of you to Internships and Beyond. I'm Megha, and I'm the chairperson of MACS Club of our college. This event is organized by Code Chef MEC chapter, the official Code Chef chapter of our college, and MACS, the Association of Computer Science Students in MAC. We hope you get to take away valuable lessons and clear all your queries from the incredibly talented panel of speakers. On this note, I would like to invite Ashwin, President of Code Chef MEC chapter, to take over the session.
Good afternoon, everyone. So today, before we start with the Q&A with the panel, I'll be giving you a short presentation. It will be a really short 5-minute presentation that will give you a brief overview of what internships are all about. So let's start with the presentation first, and then I'll introduce the panel, and then we'll move on to the Q&A. I hope you can see my screen now. So welcome to the event. So before we start, I have a big disclaimer about the event as well as the presentation. So you might have a lot of queries regarding internships and stuff, but when you ask these queries to different people, you might get different answers because all these answers are extremely subjective and are drawn from their own personal experience. So whatever the panel shares with you today might also be drawn from their own personal experience. So take all this with a grain of salt, learn from this and pave your own path. And another thing to note is most of this is probably going to apply mostly to CS branch, and the other branches, I'm sorry, but you might be able to take away some general things that we share here today. So with that disclaimer out of the way, let's start. So I know most of you might already have your own reasons to get an internship, but let's just quickly go over some of the common reasons to get an internship. So the most common reason is for the experience and the added value it adds to your resume or your CV. One of the not so obvious reasons is for the KTU activity points. You need 100 activity points to graduate, and an internship is a really easy way to gain half the activity points. So you get easy 50 KTU activity points if you complete an internship. And then there's learning with mentorship. Learning on your own, self-learning with courses and all that is well and good, but having a mentor is really something else. So it takes that learning experience to a whole new level. So having a really good mentor means you're extremely lucky. So you get that when you do an internship. And of course, we all need the cash. So let's discuss some of the skills that you might need to get an internship. So don't be scared by the list I'm about to show you. I don't mean to say that you need to have all of these skills, and I don't mean to say that you need to be an expert in all of these things. I'm just saying that these might be the things that a recruiter might look for when he's considering you for an internship. So the first and foremost thing that a recruiter might look for in a CS core company might be algorithms and data structures. This is a course that's taught in our syllabus, but you might have to go out of syllabus and do practice problems on sites like LeetCode and CodeShift. Take part in all the contests that we organize. Make sure that you're thorough with all the basics of algorithms and data structures. And if you actually have to crack really good big tech companies, you might have to go beyond that, and you might have to be thorough with advanced algorithms and data structures. Another thing is computer science fundamentals. This includes every other subject that's not included in algorithms and data structures, such as operating systems, networking, database. And these subjects might be more important for certain kinds of roles, such as site reliability engineering, that we will be discussing later today. And the thing is open source work. So this will act as an online resume or CV. So make sure that you have a GitHub profile with all your open source work, your projects, and also you might have a portfolio with your web work. So make sure that you have that and you include that in your CV so that this acts as a valid experience and your recruiter might hire you based on that. Another thing is projects, and these might be academic projects or projects that you do via hackathons. These help you gain real world development experience. Algorithms and infrastructure is one thing, and projects is completely different thing. You need to balance both. The recruiter will definitely look for both. And the thing is, other experience. So if you need to get an internship, you don't necessarily need work experience, but having other internship experience, maybe if you're applying for a big tech company, if you have an internship experience with a smaller startup, that will definitely work to your advantage. The last is CGPA. You might all think it might not be important, the academic aspect of it, but for internal internships that you might be able to get via the PC, CGPA is important. The companies do specify a cutoff, and it's more important that you don't have any pending supplementary examination. So please ensure that you don't have any pending supplies, because that will considerably work against you when you're applying for placement drive next year. Next is the type of internships. So these are the common type of internships we have. One is internal that you might be able to get via the placement cell, and the other is external. These are like big tech companies, startup that you apply externally via portals, LinkedIn, Internshala, etc. And you go through the normal interview procedure to get these internships. Then there's paid and unpaid internship, which is self-explanatory. Then there's this third kind of internship, which is a paid internship, but you don't get paid, they get paid. You pay kind of a fees to them for the experience. So this is not something you want. Please stay away from this kind of internship. So so let me elaborate on internal internships that you might get via the PC. You can only get one internship via the PC. So when you sit for an internship and you get one, you can't sit for the following drives. Then if you get one internship, you have no choice, you have to take it, or else you might incur a penalty. And this penalty might be that you cannot sit for actual full-time placement drives next year. And it's obviously easier to get an internal internship than an external internship, because you just have to compete with your classmates or your batchmates. Two of the biggest companies that come for internship recruitment in our college are Ansys and LinkedIn. These are the consistent ones. There are other ones that might also come. So I'll just share my internship experience with you. You might be able to learn from this experience. So I've done 3 internships. One was an unpaid one with a startup. The second one was with a small startup called Hasura in Bangalore. And the third one was with a big tech company, that's LinkedIn. So the first one was an unpaid internship, and that was via Internshala. And there was no mentorship at all. It was just a single student-based startup. That was just one guy, a law student who was trying to build a product, and he hired interns to build the product for him. So it was a startup, but just barely. And there was zero mentorship, and the role was unclear. I was not necessarily an SD intern because I also had to do legal research for it. So that's the type of internship that I wouldn't recommend. The second one is Hasura, which is a famous open source company that's based out of Bangalore. And that was a paid internship, and I got it via an external interview process. I did a course called Introduction to Modern Application Development on NPTEL. If you don't know what NPTEL is, look it up. It's a famous course platform that's available online. And Hasura had a course enlisted on it that it did with a partnership with IIT Madras, and I did that course, and I got the internship via the course. And I had excellent mentorship there. It's a famous startup, and my role was an SD intern, and I worked mostly with React. And the third internship I got via the PC. It was a paid internship, and I had excellent mentorship there. One of the biggest advantages of working in a big tech is that you get excellent mentorship, and the role was that of a site reliability engineering intern. So apart from this, you could also do programs like Google Summer of Code. This might be a valid replacement for internships. So if you don't know what GSOC is, it's an annual program that Google conducts where it awards stipends to students who successfully complete open source projects with Google approved organizations. So if you don't know what GSOC is, look it up, apply for GSOC. The applications might open in a few weeks. So apply for GSOC, and if you don't get an internship, this is a valid replacement for internships, and this is better than unpaid internships and paid internship with small startups. So with that said, the presentation is over. Let's move on to the panel. So with us today, we have a trio of 3 girls. They are extremely talented, and they happen to be from the same class, that's CS5A of our college. and they're really good friends. So let's introduce them one by one, and then let's move on to the Q&A. So first is Anaga Shivadas. She's an application engineering intern at Google. I invite her to introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Anaga, and I'm in my third year CS 5A, as Ashwin had said. So previously, I've interned at a small startup, and I worked with Flutter before getting into Google. And I'm also pretty passionate about communities. I work for certain communities like Scholarship Track, Women Who Code, and Harvard We Code, etc. And outside of tech, I love to sing. I have a music account on Instagram, and I'm an internationally rated chess player.
That's great, Anaga. Next, we have Anu Jodi. She is a site reliability engineering intern at Twitter, and I was also a site reliability engineering intern at LinkedIn. So we are SRE buddies. So Anu, can you introduce yourself?
Okay, hey everyone, myself Anu. I'm interested in full stack web development. So I had worked as a React developer at a small startup, and right now I am working as a backend developer at a startup company called ForceTrend. Yeah, that's a brief intro about myself.
Okay, Anu. And last but not the least, we have Anna. She's a software engineering intern at Ansys. She got this internship via our placement cell. So Anna, can you just introduce yourself? Anna, you're muted.
Hi everyone, I'm Anna Emmanuel. Currently, my internship has started. It started from January, and I have to tell one thing that it's better that everyone try to get an internship, because the exposure we get is really good. Yeah. Then I'm interested in web development, but now after doing this internship, I feel like software development is my thing, kind of. Yeah, that's it.
That's great, Anna. So now after the introduction, we have the Q&A. We have already collected questions from you, but you are also free to ask live questions. The Q&A will be handled by Nikita and Naina. So over to you, Nikita. I'll also be helping out with the Q&A. If you have any questions for me, feel free to ask.
Yeah, hey guys. So we'll just jump right into the Q&A session. If you have any questions during the session, you can just send it in the Meet chats, and we'll have it read out. All right. So the first question that we've received is, when you get an internship at any of these big companies, do you have to know stuff about the role beforehand, or is it fine if you just learn during the internship?
It's actually fine if you learn during the internship. We'll be given mentorship, and we can learn a lot of stuff. Beforehand, like if you're getting an internship, we can mail those companies. They'll give certain things which we should know. Just some basics stuff, familiarity with Linux commands, Git basics. All these are really great if you know all these things. Yeah. Then while taking us for internship itself, we are getting through all these procedures, so that's enough, I guess. No need to know much in detail about those roles. Well, it's good if we know. Yeah, that's another thing.
I think that's more based on the company. If it's like small startup companies and all, I think they are actually looking for that skills because they're having only few number of employees. But when you go for the the bigger companies, they would train you. So startup in the sense, if the role is for a front end engineer or a React developer, you need to know React before applying it. But for the bigger companies, like I had applied for SRE and I have no clue about SRE. So for the bigger companies, I think they would train you. For the smaller ones, I think you have to have at least a basic idea of those skills. If it is for React or Flask, you need to have a basic idea of those skills and have done 1 or 2 projects on that. So that's my opinion.
Yeah, same thing for me. Regarding my role, even I don't know much about application engineering. So I just know that it's software engineering, but I'll be developing internal tools for Google. I think that's what application engineers do, from what I know. So when I asked certain application engineers on LinkedIn, they told me that it will be good to read up on our domain based on the kind of team we get. So the work we do will be different based on the team and the manager that we have. So it will be good to read it up beforehand, but we'll also be provided videos and materials and mentorship to learn. So it's all about learning. You don't need to know everything beforehand.
Right, all right. Then we'll move on to the next question. Okay, solving problems on lead code, etc., or doing projects. Which should a first or second year student focus more on if their goal is to get a good internship?
I think ideally you need to balance both, because you can't get into big tech if you don't have a good resume. And for a good resume, you need projects also. So, but you don't have to overdo it. It's okay even if you have like one or two good projects. So ideally you need to have good lead code also, because even if you have good projects, all these rounds will be based on algorithms and data structures. So even if you don't have good projects, and if you don't have lead code also, then there's no way of you getting into that. So ideally you need to balance both, in my opinion.
So yeah, I agree with Anaga, and again, it's also the term good is subjective. So it depends on you whether the company that you choose is good or bad. So again, it depends on the company. As I said, smaller companies, they actually look for the projects, or at least in my personal opinion, when I had applied for smaller companies, they actually look for my projects, what are the projects that I did and all. They've emphasized on that. I did not have to do any DSLGO question for the startup companies, but when you go for the bigger companies, the first screening test would be a DSLGO. So in order to clear that, you need to have a good DSLGO knowledge. So yeah, ideally you have to balance both.
Yeah, that's what I have to say too. So, in order to get to final round itself, we should get better in competitive programming, and I think having one or two good projects is enough. Yeah.
All right. Okay, then on what basis do you get selected for an internship? Also, does academics matter in any way when trying to become an intern at any of these big tech companies?
Yeah, I think you need good CGPA. But yeah, depends on the company. But for big tech, I think you need good CGPA. I'm not sure.
I'd like to tell you something about this. So about CGPA might not be important for big tech companies necessarily, but CGPA might play a role if you're applying internally via the placement cell. So every company that the placement cell brings to our college, they'll send us a mail regarding the details of the company, and it will be clearly mentioned in that mail what's the cutoff for that particular company, and it will be a CGPA number. So most good companies that you might dream of, they'll have a pretty high CGPA number, and more importantly, they'll have a condition that you cannot have any supplementary examinations. So focus on your academics to a certain extent so that you can pass all your exams with a decent enough CGPA, and that will be good enough.
All right. Then, okay, yeah, please go on.
No, I just wanted to say that it's better to keep your CGPA above 8.5. Yeah.
Don't spend all your time for the academics. Have like maintain a good decent CGPA. Like don't spend your entire time for these academics, because we are not in our class 11th and 12th where we spent the whole a good chunk of our time for academics. Now we are in college, so you should have a lot of time to experience, to explore what you love and what you don't. So yeah, use that time also.
Yeah, I should say I only study right before exams, so that's enough for KTU.
That's good advice. Okay, then when developing your tech skills, did you focus on one field and try to master that, or did you experiment with multiple fields? And which do you think is a better choice?
I think in my first year I was pretty clueless. I was trying to explore. I tried to explore web dev. I tried to explore ML, and I didn't like both of them. And then I think only in my second year I started Flutter, and I liked that. So it's good to explore. So I don't think there's anything wrong with exploring. But if you'd like to go deep into a field, then that's also good. So whatever applies to you, whatever works for you, there's no rule for such things. Some people might go into ML and they go deep into ML and they want good ML internships. So they apply based on that. For me, it's like I'm okay with anything. So yeah, that works for me.
So I have the same experience as Anaga. When I entered my first year, I was like pretty clueless of everything. So I had to start from the scratch. So I had experience with web development, a bit of machine learning, some blockchain. So yeah, for me, I was experimenting with all those stuff, and I found interest in web development. So I went in that area. So it's like really difficult to be a master of all trades because there are so many domains, and it's like literally impossible to have a good depth knowledge of all those domains. So it's better, explore your opportunities, find something that you love, and go deep into that.
Yeah, I was pretty clueless till second year. Then in first year, actually, I got into web development when there was something arranged by Force MEC, I guess.
Free code camp, right, Anya?
Yeah, by Force MEC.
Yeah.
Yeah, pre-code camp. That's when I got into web development. Yeah, for some time I stayed there. Then I jumped to machine learning. Then I just went around blockchain and all. Then in third year I started. I mainly focused on competitive programming. Yeah, that's all. Yeah.
All right. The next question is, can you explain the whole procedure as a newbie in CS who knows only a little about C, Java, HTML, and other languages? How do you get there? What things should be improved, and how do you improve them?
I'd say just explore. Just explore. Just go on, try whatever you want in CS, and try solving problems on maybe CodeChef or something. Just be active in all communities like FOSSM, EC, and CodeChef. We have different communities and we have different activities planned for you. So just being active would help you get somewhere. That's what I think.
So it's like first, it's your journey. You got to make your own path. So yeah, as another told, explore stuff. You when you do stuff, you feel okay. This is not something that I want. And when you do some other stuff, you okay, this is all right. It seems interesting. You go further and further into that, and yeah, you will find your own path.
Yeah, so yeah, we should try a lot of things. We'll find way. We don't know. Like at start, we'll be confused, which one, which way we should go. But try a lot of things. Then go for hackathons. When you first go for hackathons, you may feel really down. But it's okay. The experience we get from hackathons, the motivation we feel is other level. Like
And also, you get free food in hackathons.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we had free swags. This was one from
Yeah.
Getfolio.
You got a lot of T-shirts, stickers, free food,
Yeah.
and they're also offer a good cash prize.
And yeah, you can have fun with friends, most importantly.
Like
then
when
that's when we know that we have lot of things to learn.
yeah. So like when you're doing a personal project, you just slack. Okay, I'll do it next week. Next week, keep on postponing it. But when you're in a hackathon, you will be amazed by the amount of things that you build within one day. So yeah, go for hackathons. That's the best way that you learn stuff. That it will motivate you to do stuff. You like by
Yeah.
seeing around you doing
Yeah,
stuff.
you meet a
feel
lot
like
of people, amazing people around. And they'll have mentors also. Good hackathons will have mentors.
Yeah.
Nikita, I have a question for them.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so can all three of you share your interview experience, the actual, how did the interview process go? How did you apply? How many rounds did you have? What did they ask? So how was the feedback like? So things like that. Can you just share?
Okay, for me, I got ANSYS internship via placement cell, and there were 4 rounds. First round was technical test round. It was mostly based on data structures and algorithms, operating systems, and C++ mainly, debugging and outputs. Then I had 2 technical interviews. It was via online sharing of MS Doc. Lot of questions were asked, mainly time complexity, then about recurrence relation, time complexity, Master's theorem, pre-traversals, linked list, and all that. Yeah. Then they did ask how much I knew about C++ and Python. Yeah, we'll always have a doubt which language we should choose. And when I started working at ANSYS, actually we require both C++ and Python. We need both. Yeah. Then final round was HR interview. That was pretty easy. Actually, HR is actually nothing, I guess. Yeah.
So coming to Twitter, we had 2 rounds. Two rounds. After those 2 rounds, there were 2 coding rounds and 1 HR round. In my first coding round, they asked the complete DS algo type question. After clearing the first round, for the second round there was again 2 sections. One was a coding theoretical round, and one was the HR round. For the coding round, they did not ask any DS type question. They asked me more of building an API sort, then some theoretical questions based on the computer fundamentals like OS, computer networks, TDD, Git, and all. And for the HR round, they asked me what are my skills, all those typical HRish questions, my strength and weakness, then a project, tell me about a project, and stuff like that.
So yeah, I got this Google internship externally. So I applied around in October or November something, and I totally forgot about it. And then I got a mail in December last week or something from a recruiter, and I was surprised because they were like, "We think that you are a potential fit for this application engineering role." And like they briefed me about all the interview procedures, and they told me that if I get shortlisted, I'll have to go through these rounds. So and then I did get shortlisted, and we had a webinar also about this interview process. So I had a coding round and also system design round. So usually they don't ask system design for internships because you're not expected to know about all the scalability and distributed systems and all that when you're just in third year. So but for this role specifically, they wanted that. So the webinar was all about that. So yeah, the coding round was actually I thought that the coding round would be pretty easier because we had system design, and I focused all my time and energy on that. But the coding round was pretty difficult for me. It was a lead code medium to hard level. And surprisingly, the system design round was easy for me, maybe because I was prepared enough. And yeah, during the system design round, they also asked me about my previous internship. And yeah, that was it for me. And there was a hiring committee also after that.
How did you prepare for the system design round, Anika? It's not something that's usually asked, right? So how did you go about preparing for that?
So I told you they send a few resources for system design and coding. So they actually send a few Gaurav Sen videos on YouTube. He's pretty famous for system design. His videos are really good. If you want to prepare, I definitely recommend to check them out. So they sent like something like how to design WhatsApp or something, and yeah, I also, because when you're learning system design, there are a few terms when you're looking at it for the first time, you'll be kind of overwhelmed by that, but it's fairly interesting and it's easy if you dive deep into it, I think. So I also took a course on Educative. It's called Grokking the System Design Interview, and that also really helped. I think that's really good. Like it covers all the frequently asked system design interview questions, like designing a messenger or designing a Instagram and all that.
And if I'm not mistaken, I think Anu got your internship via Twitter conference, right? Can you share your conference experience? What was the conference like? What was the conference actually?
Okay. It was called Twitter Developer, and it was the first time that they conducted it in India. And sadly, this time it was virtual. So the developer hall is similar to the GHCI conference, where you'll have sessions taken by the Twitter people, and you get swags. Then finally, since I think I don't remember, they select I think 30 people from all over India, and Gayatri Venu and I were the two people who were selected from our college.
She's also from CS5A.
Yeah.
She's also a friend.
So since we got since we got the developer her scholarship, we had direct entry for the Twitter first round. Otherwise, we had to write the hacker rank text, because since we received this scholarship, we got the direct entry. So yeah, that's my story.
All right, we also have a lot of first and second years asking questions. So most of the time, questions are along the following lines. They're proficient in a field, but they don't have any experience as such. So when they're applying for any internships, how do they convince the employer that they have this skill? Because right now they have nothing on their resumes. Also,
Yeah,
how
I
do you
think
make your resume stand out?
Okay, about the how do you get an internship without an experience? Here is how I went about it. So I told you that I had worked in a startup previously. Uh, so yeah, I saw a message on Telegram that this startup was looking for interns, and they were working in Flutter. So that was one field that I was kind of proficient in, and they were working on a mental health app. So by reading that, I knew that I'd also developed a project similar to them for a hackathon, and I had a demo video for that. So I actually messaged the person, and I shared that demo video with them, and the person was impressed, and she was like joined right away. So that was my way. So I think if you have a hackathon project or something, you can either send a GitHub link or a demo video or something, and they'll be happy to hire you. I think. This works for startups where they don't have much rounds or anything.
So yeah, if you're lacking in experience, I think you could compensate that by like improving your achievements in project section. So if you're like weak in one part, improve on the other part. So if you don't have any experience, work on more, build more projects, contribute to open source, go to hackathons, win some hackathons. All those will compensate for your lack of experience.
Yeah, try to do make your way through the things you like. Then I like to say that we will get rejected a lot of times. Like I even before sitting for placement cell in the internship drive, I did sit for Amazfit and also for Goldman Sachs. Then a few more internship, but I did get rejected. But when we that experience, even that experience matters. Like we learn a lot of things. Like which all portion we should make it much better, and which all where to focus and all. We learn a lot of things from that experience itself. So based on that, we can improve ourselves. And yeah.
Yeah, regarding rejections, I'd say prepare to get rejected. I think I've personally been rejected like a lot of times, but just make sure that you don't feel down or anything after getting a rejection. You should be okay with it. You should just believe in yourself and go on. Like whatever you want to, like whatever you have. Like my mentor used to say that you don't get what you desire, you get what you deserve. So you'll definitely get what you deserve someday.
So yeah, when you in your journey of life, there would be a point where you'll just keep on getting the rejection mail. So you have to somehow get past that point. Like you will be like really you will be really down at one point. So somehow hold yourself together. There would be that point. So somehow try to cross over that point. Once you get over it, everything would be things would get better.
Okay, the next question is, what are the current internship opportunities where a first or second year student can apply right now for electrical batch in particular, if you can answer? And also, how do you know whether a company is offering an internship or not?
I'm not aware of any such thing as for electrical batch, or I'm sorry, but I'm not aware of any such internships like that. But I'd say visit the career page of any company that you're looking for, and also it will be really helpful if you join communities like scholarship track or something like that, where they'll be posting updates about all these internships. And yeah, if you have a good bunch of friends, just create a WhatsApp group or something. That's what we did. Like, we have a bunch of friends and we just formed a group, and we'll share whatever opportunity that comes our way, and we'll all apply. So that's how we went about it, and that was pretty helpful for us.
One thing to note is there are companies that offer internships exclusively to first and second year students. These are like special programs that big tech companies design. So I think one example is STEP internship that's offered by Google. So you can just Google for such kind of programs, and that's much easier to, these types of programs are much easier to get than competing with third or fourth years for regular internships.
Yeah, I should say, like, try for Google Step and Microsoft Engage. And
Codis is also there, right?
yeah, Microsoft Codis.
Yeah,
But I think that's only open for a few colleges.
For-
If
That's
you're
just-
active on LinkedIn, you'll be knowing about these opportunities. Just be active everywhere and you'll be knowing everything. So in my second year, I didn't even know about the STEP internship. I didn't even apply. So yeah, when you're in your particular year, just be aware of all these opportunities. That's just just half the thing done.
Yeah, so there are good LinkedIn groups and Telegram groups where you get such information. So try joining those.
Yeah, and the mailing list also help. Like, they can be spam sometimes, but still, mailing list, Telegram groups also, like, there are a lot of groups, opportunities. Then when you start googling on your Google feed itself, a lot of opportunities will be there.
All right, the next question is, how necessary is it really to do one or even multiple internships? Do companies consider all this when they come for placements?
Yeah, it definitely, it will be an added plus if you have an internship on your resume. So doing an internship is really good, obviously. So obviously for placements, they'll be dealing with a lot of candidates. So if you offer them, if you can show them on your resume that you already have experience and of working under someone, then you'll be a better fit, right? So yeah.
It sure is an added advantage, but I know plenty of people who didn't have internships and they ended up doing just fine. They got placed. So especially this is a pandemic season and opportunities are not readily available. So don't be disheartened if you don't get an internship. Work on your projects, do open source work, have a great resume, have a great LinkedIn profile, and you will do just fine for placements. But definitely having internship will give you an edge over the competition.
Yeah, so it's not a must, but it gives you an experience. I think that's really important because not at least when I was in second year, I was not sure what I wanted. So when I do like a lot of internship, it gives me a preview of what the job would be. So if you're having a doubt, should I go for front end? Just try for an internship, maybe a 2 months internship. It gives you an overview of what your work would be. You could decide whether you want to do this for the rest of your life with an internship. So that experience is a really good big plus.
Also, some companies offer PPOs that are pre-placement offers if you perform well. So, like how Ashwin got a PPO. So, if you get a PPO, you won't even have to sit for placements in fourth year. So, that's pretty cool, I feel.
Yeah, you'll get that exposure first and foremost. Then when we are getting an internship and when we start working, we are working with professionals and we'll know how the actual professional world works. Like it's really different from what it is taught at our college. And college, what we are being taught at college, actually, it comes of really less use when we start working.
One of the absolutely best things about internships is what Anagha said, that's pre-placement offer. Because getting a FTE role at one of these dream big tech companies is pretty much impossible when you're competing with people from different background all over the country. But getting an internship might be 10 or 100 times easier. And when you get an internship, and if you perform well and you get a PPO, you don't have to go through the entire FTE process to get a FTE role at one of these big tech companies. And one thing is, if you have an internship and you get a PPO, you can pretty much sell during your fourth year. You don't have to go through all that stress of placement season. You can just pretty much Netflix and chill.
Okay, the next question is should the interview preparation for the role of an SRE be different from a regular tech role?
So I think for the regular SDA roles, they focus more on the DS algo part. For me personally, for my the final round, they did not ask any DS algo type question. They asked me more for an application type of question. They asked me to build an API. Then they asked all those theoretical questions, not the ones that you learn in your, I think, as fourth semester. But you got to go into depth. They don't ask the bad. You don't ask the bad. The surface level things. They go deep down. So I think those, for the other roles, for the SDA and all, I don't think they focus much on the theoretical concept. But for SRE, at least for in my case, they asked all those stuff.
Okay, then let's move on to the next question. If I get an internship in any of the said companies, will I get the training before my internship period starts?
They might not give you training for internships necessarily. They do give you training for FTE roles. If you're joining a big tech company, you'll definitely get training for FTE roles. So for example, companies like Google, Microsoft, when they hire for full-time roles, they'll just ask you 5 to 6 rounds of really advanced DSLV questions. They won't ask for anything else, and they'll probably just take you. So with just that interview process, they cannot put you straight to work. So they'll have to train you. So they'll be training you for 3 or 4 months, but that's for FTE role. For internships, you have a total of only 3 to 4 months. So there's no time to train you, like give you dedicated training. So they'll be training you over the course of your internship. You will have a full-time mentor, you will have a full-time manager, and you will have one-on-one meetings with them day to day, and they'll be assisting you throughout your internship, solving your technical queries. So I had a really excellent mentor who was ready to jump on a call with me anytime I wanted. He even came to a call with me at 11 p.m. in the night. So they will always be there to help you solve all your queries. They'll give you resources and stuff like that. They might not give you dedicated training, but they'll help you out.
Okay, guys, we're almost reaching the end of the questions. So if you have anything else to ask, you can put it down in the chats and we'll get to those after these. So yeah, the next question is GSOC versus internship. What kind of role should you go for?
I think both has its own value. GSOC has that glamour of being 1 in 3,000. Only 3,000 students are selected, I think, all over the world. So, but it's much easier to get this year because they ease the rules this year. So they cut the stipend by half, they cut the duration by half, and they will be accepting more students this year. So if you are planning to apply, definitely apply this year because it's much easier to get this year. And comparing that with the internship, one thing about the internship is that you will get a taste of what real work is like. GSOC won't be like real work, it will be like open source work. You will meet your mentor maybe once a week. You will be working on public platforms, on public channels. But when you're working within a company, you'll get the taste of what your actual work might be like when you end up graduating. But the stipend might be more for GSOC. I don't know. Depends on the company. But yeah, the experience might be similar. The only thing that's different is you will get a taste of what real work is when you do an internship.
All right, pretty much the last question we have here is what are the most important soft skills that help you in landing the internship?
I'd say communication is very important. So during these coding rounds, you actually have to talk to them while you code. So it's not enough if you know the solution. You probably like for Google. When I saw the question, I didn't know how to solve the first time I saw it. So you probably won't know it because these big tech they'll have their own set of questions. So you need to go through the example. So this is what I did. I just went through the example and I asked him questions and he'd ask questions. So you just need to communicate a lot. And even while coding, you need to communicate. Okay, I'm doing this. You need to explain your thought process. They're actually looking for how you think and how you approach a problem. So that part is really important for these interviews. So yeah, communication is a really important part.
Yeah, as what Anaga told, you might know the answer, but if you're not able to communicate properly how you arrived at the solution, like what were your thought process, why you chose this way of coding, not the other way. That's what they looked. How did you reach to the solution? That's what they give more importance than like are very able to come up with the solution or not. So first time when you come up, you might be coming up with the worst solution that works. Then you talk with your interviewer, then you optimize your code, and finally, after communicating, he or she might give you hints, and that's what they look. Are you able to change your code by the hints that they give? So yeah, communication is a big thing, big soft skill that you must improve during your interview.
Yeah, I think they do check whether we understand what they're telling. They will give us hints, and they will check whether we can grasp them, and we can improve our code based on what they tell, and reduce the time complexity and optimize the code.
One thing that these big tech companies might look at is how well you fit into their culture. All these big tech companies have really well marketed culture that will be available on their website and stuff. So Google might call it Googliness, or Twitter might say they hire rebels or curious people and all that. So you might have to like perform during the HR interview in such a way that they feel that you're the right candidate who will fit into their company culture.
So yeah,
So
that's
there's this company called ThoughtWorks. This is not for an internship. It comes to a college to recruit full-time roles. And for their HR interview, what they do is they ask politically sensitive questions and see if you give neutral answers. So they ask questions like, have you met a transgender in your life? What do you feel about them? Or they might ask questions like, what's your opinion on Article 377? So you might need to have some of that general knowledge, and you might have to give neutral answers to politically sensitive questions. So that's how they check if you match their company culture.
for the HR round, that is a big hint. Like before going for an HR round, go through their company page, read their about page. You'll get so many things that they focus on, like inclusion, diversity. So use all those words when you're answering during your HR round.
All right, so since there are no more questions, if you guys have anything else to add on to what you've said, please feel free.
Sure. For coding, lead code, I personally prefer lead code. But there are other sites also like HackerEarth, HackerRank, CodeChef, basically anything that you can prepare on. And for theoretical stuff, For learning, you can use Geeks for Geeks, and yeah, Interview Bit is also nice. They also have coding questions. Yeah,
Try
for
doing
other,
online. There are like mock interviews. So I think Tramp is one side where you could do mock interviews with another person. Do that. That's a good.
Yeah, then cracking the coding interview book is really good. Yeah,
yeah,
then
yeah, we used to mock interview each other. Like Anu and I used to mock interview each other for practice before these interviews. So that really helps.
Then, like if you search in GitHub for anything, you'll get a lot of resources. That's something like if you're learning systems design, just search system design and it gives you reports with all those resources. So try that also.
yeah, then on Telegram there are lots of communities. Try to get into them, and there'll be a lot of resources. They'll be sharing a lot of them. Yeah,
And yeah, you can use Google for whatever you want.
yeah.
And for development purpose, it's Stack Overflow. Almost every answer would be there. So if you're stuck something, use that.
Also, I should say, like, if you're interviewing for a particular company, you can search for company tag questions on these sites like InterviewBit and LeetCode.
And maybe read the experience written by different people like before your interview. Just read through their experience. I think Geeks for Geeks also offers that, where the different people share their experience and all. So that would also give you a better idea before going for your big interview.
Yeah, ask your seniors also, so they can give you good seniors and your batchmates or anybody who's been through the same interview before. That will give you a lot of hints and
Yeah, then reach out to people through LinkedIn and all. Yeah, that will help.
So most of the time, most of the people won't respond. So yeah, do be prepared for that also. But people who do respond, they would help you. So yeah, try reaching out.
if you have mutual connections, then it will be easier. So if you know a senior who's been through the interview rounds, then that will be better than reaching out to random people.
We can wind up if there are no more questions, Nikita.
Yeah, all right then. So yeah, this has been a very enlightening discussion. I really think all of the students we have here as participants would have taken away something important that they can use later on. So yeah, thank you all for coming here, and thank you for the participants who joined.
Thank you all. Bye.
Thank
Bye
you.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye everyone.
Bye.
Bye.